Okay, without realizing it, you realize like if you started doing 10 times what you're doing now, that people around you probably wouldn't like it?
Yeah.
You realize that other people would come to you like this? Can I have some, please?
More of your time.
Would you realize that you probably actually have to lose friends and people? Do you see what I'm saying? So subconsciously, without even realizing it, that's what's underneath the stalling thing. So what I was doing, this one used to plague me all the time. So even though my wife is pregnant, I know it's coming, and yet I'm doing nothing. I'm stalling. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So give me an example of something that you've stalled on. Just be honest. This only works if we're honest. Yeah.
Transaction coordinator.
Good. I love that. So stalling on hiring transaction. And what is the story that you rationalize and tell yourself to make that make sense?
I can keep control of it. I don't have to give it to somebody else. What if they make a mistake?
Got it. So what if they make a mistake? What's underneath that? I don't trust people. You notice the energy in the room right now?
Sorry, guys. Thank you.
And or I don't have a system that I trust. You know what's interesting? Memory is not a system. Let me ask you guys a question. How many very successful business people do you know that have 0 employees? Oh, that's right. The answer is none. Do you understand? But 65% of us grew up in families that live paycheck to paycheck. That was my experience. I'm seeing some heads nodding, right? So do you know, because of that, do you know what we heard all the time? Money doesn't grow on trees. Wow, you guys went to the same school, huh? Eat all the food on your plate. Oh, interesting. And a penny saved is a penny, which is bullshit because it's just a penny. And here's the one that got you. You ready? And gets a lot of us. If you want something done right, you gotta do it Guys, I need you to think about everybody who ever said that to you. What is their life like? It's not fantastic. Do you understand? That's an employee mentality. Do you get that? That's really what's behind this. You see? I can just do it myself. It's easy. But guess what? All of the time that you're spending, you know what you are? A high-paid assistant. You're trading $500 an hour work for $15 an hour work because underneath it, I don't trust people. Or I don't have a system that I trust. So if you want to grow, I don't care how much Tony Robbins, how much David Goggins, okay? I don't care how much YouTube you watch. Until he deals with that, will he grow? Sorry?
Nowhere.
Sorry? No. Does that make sense? That's just a fact. Okay? It's the way it is. So think of something right now, like the staller won't let you make big decisions. It just won't. I made a decision, guys. I sold back my interest in a company and lost $42,000, and I had to cap twice because I had 17 pendings. Do you know that this industry is set up that's basically contractual arbitrage? They know you don't read ICAs. You don't even know what that stands for, most of you guys. Independent contractor agreements, you don't even read them. They know that. And as such, what they do, they also know that 65% of you, okay, haven't, like, money's a thing. So they're like, what can we do to keep people from not going, like, leaving? Let me keep some of their money if they leave. And they don't even realize because they didn't even read it. Isn't this fantastic? But it stops you from making, if I had allowed the staller to stop me from making this decision, we wouldn't be at 325 agents. Does that make sense? So I want you to ask yourself a question. What big decision do you need to make right now that the staller's wreaking havoc on? We heard one. Who wants to give me one more? A big decision that the staller is not allowing you to move forward on. This is good. I feel like this is getting agents to like think is fantastic, right? We had to get a C on a test, have $1,000 and not be a felon. That was the requirements, guys. Yeah. Okay, good.
Applying a lead gen system, applying into
good.
A different gen system.
Good.
Moving to a different company for a better opportunity.
Yeah. So for you personally, yeah. Which one? Okay. So in your mind. So here's what's interesting. He starts to like kind of verbally just vomit those things. And what I love about that, because it's honest, but do you know what that tells me? He's walking around with those thoughts in his head all the time. Mm-hmm. And the staller is like, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't do anything. And you impede what? Progress radically. You know, it's a shame that in school, the way that we are taught is it's bad to make a mistake. In school, to collaborate is called what? Cheating. If you're not collaborating as an adult, that's dumb. You understand? So the real way that you learn something is by trying it. And then you screw it up. And then you get better at it. If you go back, go watch my first YouTube. It was terrible. The power went out during my first podcast. Okay? The lighting's bad. It's terrible. The camera's bad. If you are not embarrassed by your first attempt, you waited too long. Just get out of the way. Not only that, nobody's paying attention to you. I promise. Like your mom's watching. Nobody cares. You think everybody's gonna be like, oh my God. I'm sorry, what's your name again? Wilkins. Oh my God, you see what Wilkins posted? No. Like your auntie says that. Nobody else says it. Nobody else is even paying attention. We take ourselves way too seriously, guys. Like, nobody cares. You know what they're thinking about all the time? Themselves. That's what they're thinking about all the time. You ever hand somebody a camera and you show them a picture, what's the first thing they look at? Where the fuck am I?
Where am I?
They just ignore everybody else. That's the truth, okay? So this is the staller. The second assassin that gets in the way is called the speed demon. The speed demon makes you believe that you progress by making decisions as quickly as possible. You hire the first person that's standing next to you. Your aunt, your uncle, whoever. Oh, I need somebody. I'm in pain. This is stressful. You're a body that is breathing. Come work with me. Really fast, right? And then they forcefully, like they try to pick technology and make it work because they picked it really fast. They didn't do any homework. They picked a CRM and they're like, rah, this is going to be great. I always love it when you just get overexcited about CRMs. I'm like, you realize it's not going to help you do any more business, right? You have to actually talk to people. Never taking the time to reflect on the mistakes that they're making. And then they say things like, you know, there's no good help. You can't find good people. You know what they're really saying? I have no system for finding good people. I just whoever's standing next to me at the time. And I never reflect. Pain plus reflection equals progress. You know what the problem is? We never take the time to reflect. Anybody besides me ever made a decision too fast and it didn't work out? Everybody's hand should be up. Why did you make that decision that quickly? Do you have a group of people that I would call believable, meaning that they've produced the outcome that you wish to produce consistently over an extended period of time? And if you do, did you run it by them first? He's like, that's a novel idea. That would help me, wouldn't it? Right? But we don't do that. And we try to rush through things. So what emotion keeps us like stuck with the speed demon? Quickly making decisions.
Pain alleviation.
In what way? Explain what you mean.
So this is the pain point. This might solve it. I'm just gonna run with it.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, a Band-Aid. What emotions underneath that?
Anxiety.
Yeah. Around what?
Failure.
Do you notice a common theme here?
Yeah.
We're just afraid to make mistakes. Do you think it has anything to do with sitting in class all the time? And if you made one mistake, they were like, 100% it does. Have you ever watched a little kid, like a 1-year-old? Are they afraid of making mistakes? You know why? Because it hasn't been trained into them. By the way, do they care if you cry right at them? Do they try to hide the tears? They're like, oh my God, don't look at me. No, they're like, look at me. I am crying right now. You need to do something to get me to stop. Us, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. You can't see me cry. Oh my. So it's fear, it's anxiety, right? Speed demon ensures that you keep making mistakes. So here's what I want you to ask yourself. And if anybody wants to volunteer, it's cool. Is there a mistake that you keep making repeatedly? What is it? Okay, so you keep making that mistake. And what is the story that you're telling yourself around follow-up?
I need new business, go find someone else. They're not ready yet.
Got it. So underneath it is a fear that there's not enough. Did you come from an environment where there's not enough? Are you afraid of that in any way? Are you afraid of like resources and needing to gather them and hoard them up? Yeah. So we all are to some degree. So what I'm aware of is that fear of there not being enough and having to gather up the resources is causing me to ignore the follow-up. Meanwhile, 70% of all the appointments will come in what? Follow-up. But because I'm so like, I'm ignoring it. Does that make sense? But and then what happens is you see, if we don't know this, you know what happens? You're like, there's something wrong with me. I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just not seeing it properly. Okay, how do you think we see things? It's not a trick question, by the way.
With your eyes.
Look, he's giving me that perception. What would you say?
Your eyes.
Yeah, your eyes. Yeah, that's what most people would say. Right? I know you're sophisticated, bro. He's like, well, you have this ocular nerve, and like that's the way you fucking. So your eyes, right? But what if I told you that's not how you see things? Yeah, he's like, come on, man, why you gotta laugh at me like that, right? Hey, trust me, he gets it all the time.
I know it's everyone with a problem.
He gets it all the time. So. Anyway, so what if I told you that's not the way you see things? It's actually your mind that sees things. So if my mind is blind to the possibility, my eyes will be blind to the opportunity. There'll literally be something right in front of me, you just won't see it. So the reason why that keeps happening, and you think you're like, I need more accountability.
Yeah.
He's like, how'd you know that, bro? Like, yeah, dude, I need more accountability. That's not what it is, bro. It's a fear of there not being enough. That's why you keep chasing and ignoring here. Until you deal with that, that's going to keep being an issue. It's never going to go away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now that you're aware of it, now you can see it for what it is, right? And then you can make decisions in accordance with what's true. So the next one is the supervisor. The supervisor won't allow you to delegate things. You'll hire a TC, but then you'll end up doing the TC's work for them. He's like, don't look at me, bro. Right? You have a full-time assistant, but you take tasks away from them versus letting them do their job. Mm-hmm. Can you see how this would impede progress? Because, by the way, what do we get paid to do in this business? I know there's other businesses, but in this business, the value chain, what do we actually get paid to do? Yeah. Prospect, which leads to?
Appointments.
Yeah. Lead follow-up, which leads to? Going on appointments, which leads to? Negotiating deals, which leads to? Guys, I need you to be very clear. That is the only thing you get paid to do. Anything else that you're convincing yourself you get paid to do is not accurate. It's assistant work. Ta-da, you notice the energy in the room? They're like, damn it. I like going to, be with the videographer when he takes the pictures. I'm like, why are you a professional photographer? What exactly are you doing there? I go to the home inspections. Why? Are you a home inspector? What are you doing there? Yeah, I know. I was on a coaching call today and I was doing a role playing. He's like, that was good. I'm like, I know. Yeah. So what emotion gets in the way here? You hire somebody, but you don't let them do the job. You take it away from them. Huh? Yeah, trust. And fear that they're going to make a mistake and it'll make me look bad. Now, I'm wondering, how long could somebody stay with the supervisor wreaking havoc on them? A whole lifetime, bro. Look at any agent in your office that does 20 deals a year. They mother them. They do everything. They're like, my clients love me. I'm like, great, good for you. But you know what I became aware of? If I do 200 deals in a calendar year, is it possible to have everybody love me? No. At least 20 of them are not going to be pleased. And is that my intention? No. Have you ever had people like me that no matter what you do, they're never happy? You bend over backwards, you cut their lawn, you give up some of your commission, you're like, damn it, it should have been more. You ever? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So it's getting over, like I was giving a talk and there was a lady in the room and she was like very displeased with what I was saying. I could tell body language. She's like, everything I'm saying, right? I said, okay, I like had enough of that. I'm like, oh, can you stand up, please? She's like, sure. I'm like, what's your name? She's like, Susie. I'm like, great. I'm going to ask you some questions. My intention in asking is not to be a jerk, okay? I think it'd just be helpful for the people in the room. Other people would benefit from it, including you. How many deals do you do? It was like 30. Good for you. In any office in the country, you're in the top. The office that I left had 130 agents. 9 made more than $100,000 a year. Listen to what I just said to you. No matter how much Instagram and your little pictures of your home sold, 9 made more than $100,000 a year. That means everybody else is starving to death. You understand that? And the spread was ridiculous. 6 made like right at 100. 1 made like 300, 600. Then your boy. Huge spread, right? So I told her, I'm like, if you're doing 30 deals in any office, you're like the top agent or one of them. And they're putting you on panels and asking you to teach classes. Okay, good. I said, I'm imagining, because she was like, oh, you don't go to closings? I'm like, nope. She gave a transaction coordinator and they talk to him for the majority of the time once it goes pending. I'm like, yep. She's like, you don't go to like home inspections? Nope. You don't go to walkthroughs? Nope. And everything I was saying was bothering her. So I'm like, it's clear to me based on what you're saying, like we have a different philosophy. Now I'm also imagining based on what you're saying to me, the majority of your deals are past client centers of influence. She's like, yes, kind of like, how did you know that? I'm also imagining that you do everything. You mother them. You hover over them. She was like, yes, look in the back. Yep. And I said, I need you to understand something. The difference between me and you is that I know that if Jesus showed up here right now, somebody wouldn't like his hair. Somebody wouldn't like his beard. Somebody definitely wouldn't like the color of his skin. It is, as your audience expands, it's impossible to make everybody happy. The intention isn't to make them unhappy, but it's impossible to do that. I'm okay with doing 200 deals and having 20 people not like me at the end of the year. You're not. And until you become okay with that, you'll be stuck at 30 deals for the rest of your life. You can sit down now. Is anything that I just said not true? It's a fact. This gets in the way, the supervisor. Hovering. Have a TC, but are in the emails, watching what's going on and answering them. Jumping in when you're not even needed. Do you know why part of the reason why we do that? Because we make so much money, we're trying to justify how much money we make. We create drama. Oh my God, you won't believe it, almost fell apart. You won't believe it. Oh, I saved it. I saved it. You have nothing to worry about. We're just trying to justify how much money we make. Like, I have no problem making a lot of money, okay? You don't like it? Go get your real estate license and figure out how to do it. I'm fine with it, right? So this can keep people stuck for an extended period of time. Now, here's the question to ask yourself. Be honest. What percentage of your time are spent on mediocre tasks in a calendar day? Look, his eyebrows went up. He's like, damn, bro, it's like a lot. What percentage? 50%, 60%, 70%? Mediocre task, $15 an hour task, $20 an hour task. Easily 70%. And this is somebody.
We're all making shit up.
Yeah, but you're doing good volume, no? Yeah, what do you do in volume? 12 million. He's one of the top agents, right? He's wasting 70% of his fucking time.
Don't be like me, guys.
But here's the beautiful part. If you got proximity and I could get you down to 30%, how much money could you make?
That's true.
Bro, he'd make $1 million a year. Do you understand? That's ridiculous. That's unbelievable. And the psychology of any business, the psychology of its owner is really the bottleneck. Nothing more. It's just changing the way you think about it. Because let me ask you a question. When you go to the doctor, does the doctor greet you at the door? No, who does? What's the first question they ask you? Nope. Do you have an appointment? What's the second question? How are you going to pay for this? Do you have insurance or are you paying cash? Otherwise, get the fuck out. No? Mm-hmm. Yes. Then they hand you a clipboard, right? Or now it's an iPad. You sit down, you ask questions, and they say, great, the doctor will be with you in a minute, which is a lie. How long do you sit and wait for? 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Then do you see the doctor? No, you see the physician's assistant or the nurse practitioner. They look at the iPad, you pee in a cup, they bang on your knee, they go, oh, what are you in for today? And you're like, well, I'm in for this, blah, blah, blah. They're like, great, doctor will be with you in a minute, which is another lie, because you wait for another 30 minutes, correct? Looks at the iPad, like, great, nice to see you. Looks like you're in for this. I want to check you out. They look in your eye, that's a bill. You go, that's a bill. They touch you here, that's a bill. They check in your ears, it's a bill. They touch your abdomen, that's a bill. They write you a script, that's a bill. It takes 10 minutes. I'll see you back in 2 weeks, they leave. They do that 20 times a day. Those 10 minutes, 20 times a day, pays for the rent, pays for all the staff, pays for all the bookkeeping, and leaves a profit. Do you understand? Every business has a value chain. But you know what we do as agents? We greet them at the door. We hand them the clipboard. We take the clipboard back. We then walk them back. We're doing everything. Does that make sense? Where the value chain is doctor work. My wife, she's over there, and I'll be like, whenever I give this part of the talk, or when I say this, she's like, Aaron, you're not a doctor. And I'm like, I'm a doctor of selling. Because doctor work is prospect, lead, follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. That's doctor work. Everything else is administrative. Does this make sense? Do you know when I hired my first assistant, I was being so cheap? Cost me $35,000. Do you know 9 months later, I made an extra $150,000? Why do you think that is? Because I bought back so much time. I was like you, 70%. Once I hired that person, and then what I started thinking? What took me so long? It took me 6 years to do that. Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine if I would have done it at year 2? Yep, deep breath in, exhale out.
Not missing anything.
Nope. Your boy's a trained professional. Here's the next one. The saver. Yep. This one affects the entrepreneur who is only saving money and not reinvesting in themselves or their business. They're stashing away a nest egg. Yep. They never invest in courses, never invest in classes, never invest in staff. Once the saver gets a hold of you, you created a false sense of security by holding a nest egg because you got a little money in the bank, right? But our business is constantly changing and evolving. Do you know when I realized, okay, how many people besides me realize that media is a thing? Like it's like important. You should be paying attention to it. Yeah, everybody collectively realized that. How many people besides me, like I was 2 years ago, have no idea how to actually do it? Yeah, everybody's hand should be raised because you'll have like 2,000 followers, okay? It's a fact. So he's like, yeah, it's true. So I realized the same thing. I knew how to sell real estate in high volume, but I didn't understand media, but I knew it was important. See, because our boy here said when he was invited here, the person that invited me had a relationship with, the second thing he said was, I know that guy. I have seen him. That's the power of media, right? Do you know 2.5 years ago, my media channels was my wife posting pictures of our kids. He's like, yeah, me too. I wasn't even paying attention to it. I didn't understand it. But I realized when I got into this other thing, it's important. So what I did is I called a buddy of mine who's Jose, he's in a mastermind group called Collective Genius. You have to own 30 properties just to get in the group. And I said to him, hey, who in your group does media the best? He's like, well, there's 3 people. They all teach courses. There's only one. Nobody makes more money than Ryan Pineda. Nobody makes more money than Ryan. He has 6 businesses, do $1 million a month in revenue. Mama. And his main client acquisition channel is media. He knows what he's doing. So what do you think I did? I called him because it's the fastest hack that you can ever have. Now, do you think it's a reasonable expectation to imagine that I can offer him to take him out to lunch and he would tell me what he does? You know how many people call me all the time like, hey bro, I'll take you out to lunch. I'm like, yo, I don't need your lunch money, bro. That's not a valuable exchange. To get access to that type of information, I would have to what? Do you think that's cheap? I paid him $25,000 to teach me media. My content creators were on calls with hit content creators for a whole year, 2 times a week. We sucked everything out of their brains. Because if our body's the hardware, our brain's the software. You understand? Fernando in the back, who's like the short-term rental king, manages 100, owns a ton of them. His software is very valuable, right? If I want access to that software, I either got to know him like I do, where we're cool like that and he can tell me, or I got to pay him. It's immature to imagine otherwise. But you know what happened? I went from 2,000 to 52,000 followers on Instagram. I went from nothing on YouTube to 7,000 hours a month of watch time. That's 10 hours. I mean, that's 10 months of watch time in 1 month. 200,000 views like monthly. That's 2 football stadiums full of people going like this. Would the saver would allowed me to make that investment? What would the saver have said?
Too much money.
Yeah, and then people around you know what they say? That's a scam.
You can hear, oh, that one.
She's like, yep, I've heard that. That's a scam. I'm like, really? Okay, maybe, but it's working. Do you see what I'm saying? But the saver gets in the way of doing things like that. It doesn't allow me to pull the trigger because I start to think, well, you know, I want to buy index funds and I want to have my like 4 little doors and I want to do all this stuff, but I'm not investing in myself. Let me ask you a question. You know, Ben Franklin said, if you pour your purse in your head, you'll always get it back. Which would be a better place to pour it? Into a crappy duplex in Boca, or to get proximity to a mentor or teacher who could teach you something like that? Do you understand? But because the majority of us came from environments where resources were scarce, it starts to play into this. We're like, oh, it's too expensive, right? The saver tells you to save money, right? Save your money, which costs time. You agonize over a $100 purchase that could save you 10 hours. Do you know when I was in high volume selling real estate, like people be like, yo, we need condo docs. I pay somebody $100 to go get it and take it wherever they need to go versus me getting in the car. Do you realize what we did with lockboxes? Because what would happen is we'd have to pay somebody to go put it on and pay somebody to take it off. My wife, who's a genius, she said to me, hey, you know, if we buy them on Amazon in bulk, they're only $10. And at closing, we'll just leave them there. Just call me like, hey, you coming to walk through? Nope. What do you want me to do with this lockbox? It's my gift to you.
Take it. Like that idea.
Right? But the saver tells you like, no. You gotta like not spend the money, which ends up costing you time. You agonize over small purchase. You agonize over hiring a transaction coordinator. It costs $400 a file. It'll save you like 15 hours of your life that you could be prospecting and finding more deals or shooting content or whatever, right? It just doesn't make sense. It's an employee mentality. It's like a lower vibration, right? Invest in a course that makes you more money, hire a runner that saves you more time, hire a virtual assistant, invest in camera equipment for media. So by a show of hands, I'm curious, which one of any of these have you been thinking about, but perhaps the saver was stopping you on? Investing in a course to make more money, hire a runner, hire a virtual assistant, invest in equipment, anything like that. Yeah, a VA, perfect. And how would a VA help you? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, speak up. Okay, in what way?
Just has, like, sometimes
You and like all this other stuff. Okay, perfect. Did you raise your hand, Betty?
Oh.
Video equipment. Yeah, and how would that help you? It would, and you do such a good job on YouTube, and you're so photogenic, and just get a better camera, okay? Yep.
It's a VA.
A VA? Okay, good. So here's what's interesting. Everybody here is smart, hardworking, and ambitious. When I asked you what was stopping you, we have 3 people that volunteered. I know other people have things in their mind. What's stopping you from doing it?
The time that I have to invest to teach that person good.
Perhaps. Have you ever done a data dump from your brain onto like a checklist of how you do stuff? So in other words, like, okay, if you want them to help you with CMAs, do you have a checklist with a Loom video showing people how to do it? Okay, so that would be the first step, wouldn't it?
Just have the plan and give it to them and then have them try it.
Right, so we live in a world now where like I can create a checklist and put Loom videos and people can watch it and just do it. Memory is not a system. You are the system. Does that make sense? Now people say to me, well, I don't have time. Like, that's horseshit. You spend so much time on Netflix, so much time on all this other stuff, futzing around on the weekends. Use a Saturday to do a data dump. Start with listings. When you list a property, what happens? How do you specifically like to do it? And I mean granular. If it means you have to close your eyes and sit there, it's like, okay, I get the listing agreement signed. I bring it back to here. I send an email. I load it into here. Like everything that you're doing. And then if you think it's a little confusing each step, shoot a video showing them how you do it. How many people here input their own listings? Don't lie. Like, raise your hands. Oh my God. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're a high-paid assistant. Would the doctor do that? So why are you doing it? Do you see? This is the barrier. There's no way you could take 10 listings in a month, and I mean that lovingly, not because you're not capable, your system won't allow you to. There's no way you could have 15 pendings in a month because your system won't allow you to. That's why you stay where you're at. Does this make sense? I don't care how much rah-rah you get. I don't care if you do cold plunges. He's like, that's me, bro. I thought it was gonna work, bro. Yeah, they are great. I do them too, but like, it's not gonna help, just so you know. It doesn't help this.
Cold shower.
Yeah, but that goes back to the saver, bro, because you don't want to buy the cold plunge. Come on, bro. You're better than that. People tell me cold shower. I'm like, it's not the same, not even close. Anyway, so, but do you see, like, we all know what we need to do, but then it's like, okay, let's get into it. If your thing is like, yo, it's keeping me stuck, I need to do a data dump out of my, so take the next, I don't know, 4 weekends and do it. And then go on a website like Upwork or My Outdesk and get a VA. And then you know what you do? You hand them what you created with all the Loom videos. Does that make sense? Now, what I also think is interesting, so for you, is it at all the money at all or no?
No.
No, it's not the money. It's just the time. Okay. So I need you to start thinking about your time differently. Because I want you to really hear me. Thousandaires think, what do I have to do? Right? Do you know what millionaires think? They think in systems. Thousandaires think, what do I have to do? Millionaires think in systems. Because if you don't change that, you will be doing that forever. Your whole real estate career. You'll be inputting listings like this. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Yeah, just inputting a listing. Your whole career. It'll never change. Okay? All right. Now, the last one, assassin that gets in the way, is the self-medicator. The self-medicator pushes you to self-sabotage to celebrate and to self-sabotage to escape. So to celebrate, you have a really good month. You know what you do? Have a big meal, have a couple drinks, mess around, right? Go out. Yeah, we're celebrating, babe. Yeah. And then that screws up a week. Then when things don't go your way, guess what you go back to? I had a tough month. I need a drink. I need to go eat, feel better. So what does that do to people? What roller coaster do they end up on? And how much does this impede progress? Tremendously. Because you're up here and you're high and then you're like, boom, and you're bringing yourself back down. You're doing all this other stuff. It's throwing you off your schedule. You can't be consistent, right? Then when things aren't going good, you go back to that, which only makes it worse. Do you understand? The self-medicator sneaks up on you in the form of celebration. A night of celebration can easily turn into sleeping late, robbing you of your progress. Do you know I didn't have a TV in my house for 12 years? Do you think I was focused? Yeah. I didn't have any hobbies, bro. There's no fantasy football. No, like, chilling, dialed in. Because if you'll spend, I started when I was 26, I'm 43 now. You could literally, in this vehicle, work for 18 years, never have to work again a day in your life. But how serious are you about that? Like, well, I don't know. Right? Why take it that serious? I mean, come on, man. So what emotion do you think keeps us stuck in this loop? Oh, realtors are thinking again. I know, guys, it's 6 p.m. almost. Let's go. What emotion keeps us stuck?
I think it's a lot of them.
Okay, give me some.
Roller coaster, happy,
Yeah.
sad.
So not only do we have like spurts of cash in this business, because most of you guys don't prospect regularly.
I think complacency.
Okay, interesting. In what way?
Complacency, like for instance, like you have a month that you'll make really good money.
What's really good to you? Whatever you say is fine. I'm just generally interested. Yeah.
37.
Okay, that's okay.
10,000
Yeah.
in 1 month.
Yeah. And now here's what's true. I think that's, how old are you?
22.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic for being 22. Everybody would agree? Look, boys was like, bro. So, and I don't mean this in any way, shape, or form egotistical. If I made that amount of money in a month, it wouldn't be a good month. So what happens is what leads to complacency is I know at 22, you are the fastest, quickest, strongest, and you make the most money of all your peers. So do you know what that means? They all buy your bullshit. You have nobody around you that's like, bro, what are you doing? No, that is not acceptable. You could be doing twice that amount. Or no, after you made all that money and I'm going to be playful, but I know that generation, they make that much money and they go on a trip to Costa Rica for 3 weeks. I'm like, no, that is not the fucking answer. You need to keep going because you have a lot of potential. You see what I'm saying? So I agree with you. That could be it. Like you get comfortable, so then you think that this is the mechanism. Isn't it really interesting? I find it very interesting. In movies, whenever a man has a problem, where does he always end up? Isn't that weird that that's the message that we get? And in all of the messaging, when people are celebrating, what's present? Isn't that interesting? I think that's fascinating. And that ends up impeding. Do you see? Now the challenge is for you, and I'm sorry, your name? Kevin, what I would propose, this is my suggestion, whether it's me or anybody else, you need very strong male role models in your life. Because what will end up happening with the amount of money that you're making, if you're not careful and you're around the wrong people, it will not lead to good things. If you want to see somebody's true character, you know what you give them access to? Money, sex, and power. Does that make sense? So you need strong, in my opinion, faith-centered male role models as a guide. I know so many people at young ages who do that, are put on stages, and it doesn't end well. See what I'm saying? So, I'm wondering, are you guys a little bit more clear on what exactly is getting in your way? Now, let me hear some actionable steps. What are you going to do with this information? Because I don't want you to leave here and be like, that was cool. What's the actionable step? What are you going to do? Okay, that's a cute answer. Yeah, that was a politician answer. I'm going to delegate. Give me a very specific answer. Okay, and by when? Ah, the hesitation.
End of the month.
Yeah.
Just kidding. By the end of next month.
But yeah, because I'm going to set the end of the month. So this is beautiful, and I'm glad we're being playful, but there's also a little truth in that. Because you notice, you see what's coming up, the staller, the saver, like you're watching it happen. He knows, he's a smart person. He knows everything I said to him is true. But what did I tell you before? Emotions trump facts. So what I would suggest to you is like, if you recognize this, you see what's happening. I would be thinking about strategically, how could I recoup more of the money that I'm earning so I can reinvest it in an assistant? That's a strategic move. Then I would also want, who could I get proximity to that could help me systems-wise, CRM-wise, to get that set up? Then hire somebody. But I would also try to make that happen as fast as possible. Because legitimately, based on what you shared and what you're doing, you could be doing, no lie, no BS, twice that amount with an assistant in place. Like we were carrying 15 to 20 listings at a given time, 15 to 20 pendings. I didn't talk to any of the pendings when they were under contract. Very rarely, because I had the right person in place. I never inputted any listings because we had the right person in place. Yeah.
Your TC, like when you say you didn't talk anything in pending, they were negotiating for you.
Yeah. So what would happen is we would put in all of the in the additional terms and conditions of purchase and sales agreements that all offers are to be written on an as-is contract, all of them. And then what would happen is they write on an as-is contract. They have the right to do an inspection. They have a right to ask. We'd always give them a credit. We're not fixing anything. Because the moment you get into fixing shit, what happens? Yeah. Problems, delays. They don't like it. It's like a whole thing. Yeah. So, and you mean to tell me if you have a well-priced listing and you put on an as-is contract, they're not going to do that? Of course they are. Just to get the deal. So, does that make sense? And yeah, well, what she would do is like, so we work together so much, she would kind of know, or she would ask me, she'd be like, hey, real quick, yo, I came in 10,000 light. Do we have any other offers on the table? I'm like, nope. I think this is like the best one based on what we had. She's like, I'm like, yeah, just go back to them and see if you can split the difference. She's like, okay. And then she would do it. And if they agreed, she'd write up the addendum, done. But this, like, let me talk to you about help, okay? We did a deal in Hialeah from here. Okay, but from here. I live in Plantation. We get to closing. I'm in New Jersey. I'm doing a talk there. She calls, the other agent calls me. She's like, yo, what are you going to do about this cockfighting ring in the backyard? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, I'm like, oh, is it like a little like ring? She's like, no, there are 9 concrete pens and a whole thing. And I was like, I'm in New Jersey, bro. Like, I don't know why, like, you know what my TC did? She put an earth mover on her credit card, put herself on the HUD, hired somebody. They knocked the whole thing down and we closed. That's the type of help you need. You need people that are solution conscious, not problem conscious. People who take ownership. Does that make sense? Not somebody who's just like, what's going on? She also like really knew about title, really knew about mortgage. She would get deals closed that I wouldn't even know how she did it because she just knew what she was doing. Does that make sense? That's the type of people that you need. And if you need that type, just ask me and like I'd be more than happy to connect you. She's a rock star. And you want to have the type of people on your team where I can literally throw stuff over my shoulder. Anybody played professional or like not professional, but like high level sports before? You have to trust your teammates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want. Like I don't have to worry about my receiver. I know they know their route. I know they're going to be where I want them to be when I need them to be there. That's what you need with them. Does that make sense? Any other questions, comments, concerns, observations, hallucinations, emotional overload, having to rethink your life a little bit?
It's always good.
Yeah, good. All right, so yeah, so here's what I'm going to say, right? This is a quote, right? So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. The most repeated verse in the Bible is don't be afraid. The second most repeated verse is I am with you. And the third most repeated verse is God is good. What is interesting is what everybody said here, the thing that was stopping them was fear. Nothing to sneeze about. What everybody said here is the thing that is stopping them is fear. You're not made in the image of something that cowers. Yeah, right? We say that, we'll sit in a place, but we don't act that way. We get 27,550 days on the planet. 75 years in the industrialized world, women have a tendency a little bit more than men. I'm 43. That means I've used more than half. Whatever's left, I'm going to sleep through a third of it. If you sleep 8 hours a day, it's a third of a day. All that is to demonstrate is it's not that much. So why are you waiting to go after what you actually want? If you realized how quickly people forget that you were here, 100 years from now, everybody in this room will be dead and everybody who knows us will be dead. When was the last time you thought about Queen Elizabeth? Thought about her? Not until I mentioned her. She did more in her lifetime than you will ever do, and nobody even thinks about her anymore. If you put that into perspective, like, don't let these things stop you, right? The only thing that makes you not qualified for what you want is your unwillingness to learn. So if you sat here and you're like, that was dope, that was cool, and you don't create that system, you're going to stay the same. And what will happen is you'll settle for low-level significance, low-level people telling you you're the man. So my hope is that this would be helpful to you in some way and that you can take that action. If you need help or assistance in doing that, like reach out to us because that's what we're here to do. It's me that answers the DMs. It's me that gets back to people, right? And we're here to help you guys.